I'm Chris Murphy.
And I'm Jennifer Logan.
And we're the Community Theater Heroes.
We host a weekly podcast where we interview theater companies,
actors,
casting directors,
playwrights,
composers,
and other theater artists to give our listeners helpful advice, tips, and insight for their own careers.
And life in general, because we believe that live theater has the power to make the world a better place.
Hey everyone, welcome to episode 7 of the Community Theater Heroes podcast.
In this episode, we interview actor Michael J. Teufel. You can see Michael performing in Fuse Theater's upcoming production of Cabaret.
Michael talks about his career, his acting process, what it means to perform a show with heavy furniture, and gives great career and audition advice to aspiring actors.
Hope you enjoy the episode. Hey everyone, how do you start it? I forget.
I normally I'm like, hey everyone, welcome to the Community Theater Heroes podcast.
Cool. All right,
and this is recording, so we're just going to throw it all in.
Hey everyone, this is, no.
It's terrible. She's not good at this.
Why don't I do it?
Yeah, let's have Michael do it.
Do it sultry. do it suggestive.
It's the Community
Theater Heroes podcast.
He doesn't know the name of our podcast.
Hey everyone. Welcome to the Community Theater Heroes podcast.
It's never sounded so interesting and amazing.
Oh my gosh. Do you want
Did you get goosebumps? I got goosebumps.
I got actual goosebumps.
Maybe you should be hosting the show.
You should. You want a job? Chris is out.
Let me do it again. No laughing. Hey everyone. Welcome to the Community Theater Heroes podcast. Today's special guest is me, Michael J. Teufel.
Yeah!
That's amazing.
Michael is pretty amazing. I saw Michael a year ago in The Normal Heart with you, Jen.
Yeah.
And you did an amazing job. You really, truly did.
Thank you. It was,
I'm not just saying that.
Thank you. It was one of those where the material does pretty much most of the work and you just have to get out of your own way and let the material take you where it wants to take you, which was, a good dark place. It was
heavy.
Very heavy furniture, but the point of doing that show was, well, it wasn't a politically sort of, when is it not a politically unstable time right now? But at that point, I thought, I am not protesting in the streets about what is happening in our government. I'm not doing what everyone else should be doing who is a participant in the democracy. So I need to do something. And so that piece, which was giving voice to a voiceless minority at a very dark political time in American political history, the Reagan administration. Yeah. And some people still count that as some of the greatest years in recent American politics. In any event, it felt like a political statement to do that piece. So I was just thrilled to do it and giving voice to a voiceless minority.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And since The Normal Heart, Michael's been in The Sordid Lives, which is here at the FunHouse. The Mystery of Irma Vep. Ooh,
yeah, the
so
Mystery
good.
of Irma Vep. I don't know.
And
yeah.
And then what? There was another.
No, I think that was it.
Mystery of Irma Vep, and now Cabaret.
And upcoming in Cabaret, which I'm very excited. Another sort of political piece,
yes.
or
we
another.
were just talking about that.
Yeah, another piece about the thing is if whoever said it, we don't learn lessons from history, we're doomed to keep repeating them over and over again. And my thing about being in the majority, whatever the majority means to you, is that these lessons of history teach us that the majority can so quickly become the minority. So whatever the we is, when I say the majority in America, should be more careful about how we treat the minority, quote unquote, because things can quickly turn. As we've seen what's happening right now with number 45.
Very true.
Anyway, that's awfully dark.
Yeah. La, 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 la.
Yeah, that's right.
So, Michael, you're an actor living in Portland.
Yes.
You picked it up so well.
Yeah.
Anyway. Back to you in the studio, Chris.
So, we had asked you earlier this week what your origin story was. And
Yes.
What got you into acting and theater?
I said that the first time I was on stage was in Hillsborough at the Hillsborough Actors Repertory Theater with the hole in the roof and the pole in the middle of the acting space. But it's not actually true. A long, long time ago, right after I had finished law school, I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I was backpacking in Europe, blah, blah, blah. I ended up living in Prague.
Beep, 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 beep. He finished law school, lived in Australia.
Backpacked in Europe.
Just glossing over
you know.
these little things. These tiny little
So
things.
I ended up living in Prague, avoiding becoming a lawyer, and all of the thing. It was Prague in the early '90s. It was right after the revolution. It was crazy, wild Western times. I ended up working for a guy who was his name was Giancarlo Buontempo, which I can say, which literally means Johnny Goodtime. It turns out he was part of the mafia, and anyway, I was money laundering cheese for him. I was selling cheese, and it was it was fascinating. Anyway, I would hang out at the Irish pub because a lot of my clients, I was doing some private chefing, were expats, and they had all the money, and so I was hanging out at the Irish pub, strangely enough, with all kinds of people, and they were doing this British Panto fundraiser for the Sue Ryder Foundation, and it's a British foundation, and they were trying to raise money for the first old age care hospice in Prague. There was, after the fall of communism, there was no sort of infrastructure to take care of the old people who were dying in the streets. So anyway, it was a fundraiser. It was Cinderella or something, British Panto at Christmas time, and they needed Prince Charming, and they were sitting around the table. We were all drunk, and they said, "Well, would you do it?" And I was like, "Yeah, I don't really see myself as an actor in any. It's not really. Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm any good with people." Anyway, I did that, and then that was fine. I don't know if I really got it, but the point of the story is I came back to Oregon, where all my dad's family is from, and to take care of my grandmother. And I said, I don't know what I'm going to do with my life. I'm, 26. I could be a lawyer. I could be, a personal chef, which I don't really want to do because it's too much like hard work. And she said, well, you should go to career counseling. In America, this is what we do. When we don't know what to do with our lives and we need help, we get counseling. So I'm sending you to career counseling. And I was like, okay, great. Thank you, Granny. So 2 weeks in career counseling, and they all said, well, you should be an actor. And my immediate response was, that's not a career. That's not why I'm in career counseling, for you to tell me that's what I should be doing with my life. But anyway, the point of the story is you're supposed to go out and do informational interviews with your new career of choice. And so I came home and I said, Granny, they told me I should be an actor. And she said, great. My little friend Kim over at the Hart Theater in Hillsborough, right around the corner from the farm, go talk to her. So I went in and met Kim Sandstrom, and she said, well, all right, what size are you? And I said, whatever. And she said, great, you have 3 lines. Can you be here at 6, memorized with those 3 lines? Because you're on stage tonight. I was like, okay. And I had a couple of punchlines in my 3 lines. And it was then when I was, on stage in that full sense, in costume and memorized and in a production, where I realized that this is what I had been waiting for, like my whole life. This is what, those people who said, I grew up, I want to be an astronaut, or I want to be I never had that, never knew what I wanted to be until that moment when I realized, oh, this is where I belong, on stage.
Yeah.
Those career counselors were right.
That's right.
Way to go, Amir.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're actually able to make a decent living with that. That's a separate part of acting no one really talks about, how people don't really, they want to act, but sometimes it's very difficult to actually financially benefit from it. And you've done a decent job.
I have. I got to a point where, well, anyone who's an actor and who tries to make a living from acting will tell you it's things ebb and flow. But I, talked a lot about being an actor and can I call myself an actor and what does it mean to call yourself an actor? Anyone can call themselves an actor, but after I had a couple of years under my belt and I tried to do stay in as much training and take as many classes as I could, I decided that for some reason I would call myself an actor when I could pay the mortgage from my acting income. And then suddenly I found myself in Greater Tuna, which was sold out every night and running for 4 months, and I would still run that show. I would. I would. It's a chestnut, but audiences love it, and people love it, and come from all over to see this thing. Is it great art? No, but what is art, which we can talk about in a minute? Making people laugh. Yeah. There's some value, I think, in that for me as an actor, and I think there's value in everyone for that. But anyway, I started to that year I paid the mortgage from acting, and I was like, okay, well now I can call myself an actor.
Where was that show happening?
Here in Portland. It was like a venue in the Pearl, in one of those converted warehouse spaces. Ran for 4 months, and then we took a break and then ran Tuna Christmas for more. But anyway, yeah.
Good. Now, have you guys started... one thing that's really interesting about this Cabaret run for me is there's such a big space between casting and then rehearsal. So are you doing anything in between those times? Are you using that time to... You're making a face.
Yes, I'm
actually. Not here.
He won't know.
Alec,
this won't go out for a few.
A fellow Alec and I, who have he's Cliff in the show, are going to get together and record the script together. So because most of my scenes are with him, and that's one way. That's one of the key ways that I learn my lines is to record it. You record it on your device, and then you can play it in the car. You can play it walking around or on the bus or whatever, and then. For me, that's like the best way to memorize, especially if I have a lot of words to get stuck in there, is listening to it, surrounding myself with it, reading it while listening to it, and reading it as often as I can, but listening to it more, and then it just sort of by osmosis sinks into my head, I have found.
Well, so building off of that, what's your process to prepare for each role? Everyone has their own kind of... and you, in the Normal Heart, I know we don't know this, but in the Normal Heart, you would kind of you would be the leader of these group warm-ups, which was wonderful because there was kind of a lack of group warm-ups for that particular production, and it was wonderful. But there's not a you in all of these productions. So what's your process? Is it just stuff that you've taken from those acting classes or those voice classes?
I think that one of the key pieces of information for me always when I'm looking at any script is to start from the opposite of what you think you should start at. And I like my first clue is, what do other people in the script say about my character? Now, does that mean that's what my character is? I don't know what they said all sorts of awful things about me in the Normal Heart, but did my character think that was true? No, but it informs the world of the play you're in when you're not on stage or you're not in the script to see how you play in the world of the other character. So that's a starting place. But then, I always try to just acting 101, given circumstances. Where am I? Who am I? What's going on around me? What's happened? What's just happened? What's going to happen at the end of this scene? What's going to happen if I don't get what I want from the scene? What's at stake for my character personally? And usually, I try to take as many of my cues as I can from the text, as information. Yeah. Did that answer your question about process? Yeah. And I think that the group warm-up thing that you talk about is because I don't care what show it is or who's on stage, unless it's a one-man show, but the whole thing about beginning the evening and beginning the performance with this sense that you're all in this together, and that somebody may drop something, but we're all going to pick it up, and it's like a conscious acknowledgement of that as a group before the curtain goes up. I think it, for me, it establishes that we're going to do this adventure together, and I think that the power of the synchronicity that the audience observes that you can create with that is what propels the show in an authentic way, I think.
So who are you playing in Cabaret? Can you tell us
Ernst
about that?
Ludwig, the German. Very much looking forward to working on my dialect.
Are you bleaching your hair?
No, not going to bleach, no. Not now. We don't know. Maybe if we bleach, probably not. Some sort of comment on the... No.
No?
No, comment on the hypocrisy of the not looking like alien, but wanting everyone else to be. Yes.
Nice.
Anyway, I have no idea. I don't think I would be happy to be bleached, but I don't think we're going to do that. Yeah, I want, everyone knows the story, so it's hardly a spoiler alert to figure out that Ernst isn't quite what we think he is at the beginning of the show. And so my goal, it's sort of, and you can't really do that. I mean, you can't play a manipulative tool to the audience. My goal is I want you to like him. No, you can't act that.
Right.
So what I'm going to do with him is make him as authentically sincere and earnest in what he believes in. What he believes in is repulsive, as we all know. But to him, it's an honest, sincere, and I think that the more I can give to his truth of his belief, the more other people will be drawn into what I'm believing in too.
Absolutely.
Oh no, it's not what you think it is.
Yeah, like how do you find the truth in something like that?
Even when it's repulsive.
Right.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's an interesting.
You had mentioned a couple times about heavy furniture.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think one of the questions we asked you this week was, what draws you to a script? And you had said heavy furniture. What do you mean by heavy furniture?
You can find heavy furniture in any script, but what I mean by heavy furniture is where the playwright asks you as a performer to access some sort of deep human emotion, whether it's profound happiness or profound joy, or I like heavy furniture because I like the idea of being able to explore what the depth of that emotion is. Like The Normal Heart's a perfect example of well, first of all, I couldn't really control what was coming out when I did that horrible, horrible monologue, but in terms of where it took me. But what I think your goal as an actor is to expose the truth as a human being. People don't want to see you playing at being sad. It doesn't resonate. They want to see sadness, or they want to experience sadness with you. So by heavy furniture, I like that idea of being able to explore the viscera of the human experience, the ugliness of human truth on stage, whether it's joy or happiness.
Do you have any favorite roles that you've played where you've gotten a lot of great heavy furniture?
Yes. I I often get a lot of comedy or comedic sort of character bits, which is wonderful. I mean, you can find heavy furniture, as I said, in any role when you're looking for to exploit the truth of that character. But I like playing bad guys. I really like
bad guys are fun.
Playing evil. I enjoy it because no one really sees me in that kind of way. So being able to, I play. That's so great. Play this serial killer, and Gypsy Red wrote this wonderful one-man piece. It was 45 minutes long, which I'd never done anything like that before. And I thought, I have no idea how I'm going to do this. How am I going to speak for 45 minutes? No one can help me. I'm up there by myself. This is terrifying. And of course, because it is terrifying, is a reason as an actor you should do it.
Right.
If it's terrifying, that's yourself saying you leap into that. Anyway, so it was me talking to the audience for 45 minutes, and I was this serial killer, and as I'm talking to the people in the audience, you realize that I'm talking to two people that I'm tying up and I'm torturing psychologically and physically, and there was no swearing, there was no violence other than what I referred to. There was no F-bombs, and every single night people got up to leave because it was, too upsetting.
Where did you do that show?
That was the thing. It was at the Curious Comedy Space on over Northwest or 22nd or whatever. So I think what happened was that a lot of people were like, "Yay, let's go down to the comedy show," and they got serial killers from hell. And that was great. My therapist came, and she always comes to promote my work, and she loves to tell people about my work. And this time she said, I don't really want to be in the space with you right now. And I can't recommend anyone come to see this show because this would be a triggering event.
We're
And I
going to
was
move
like,
your sessions to next month.
that's right. So to me, like double thumbs up. You know,
Yeah.
like if it's that upsetting, that's what you want. Like,
Right. You had also said that you really appreciate it and really know that your work matters when people come up to you after your performance, I believe. Do you want to talk about that? Like, how you know your work matters when you know the audience is connecting with it.
Yeah, it's such an interesting experience. You know, you do some heavy furniture, the Normal Heart or the Setup, which was a great piece I did. It was the story of Jack Johnson, the African American fighter. It was an epic poem written in the 1920s, and we converted it with Signet Productions, converted it into this theatrical experience with like 9 actors, and we each took a piece of the poem. And long story short, our hero dies at the end of the piece, and we leave him, dead on the stage, and it's very, very heavy furniture, and then we all leave like, that was a great show, and then you come out and the audience is sitting there like, in the sort of emotional wake that you have left on the stage of leaving him in this deep moment.
You made a mess.
Exactly. The Normal Heart, another experience where people who had lived through the story that
Larry Kramer.
Yeah.
There's a lot of noise.
There's so just if anyone.
Yeah, sorry. Now that was a tough one because people who had lived through the story that we were trying to talk about, who were thankful to see their story being told again. So that was very.
Yeah, we had spoken about Normal Heart a lot with Jason, and he was the director, and he had said it was really hard for a lot of people to come see it because they had lived it.
Right.
Why would they want to see it?
Exactly. But why I've often thought that as well sometimes, watching other actors or other performers. I went to see a play last night about a very autobiographical piece, and the discussion was, is it re-triggering for the playwright or the person who created the work to experience it over and over again? Is it re-triggering for the audience? Isn't that what art is about? Is it art if it doesn't make a difference? Right. I know, and this is sort of not really on topic, but back to Prague in the early 90s, I watched the Fred and Ginger building go up, which is, this piece of architecture. It was a controversial piece. And the point is, when you live in Prague in this incredible built environment, and you're in the cab with a cab driver, who doesn't really see things the way you do because they've lived with it for 300 years, this incredibly amazing historical medieval city, and this brand new sort of very controversial sculptural building goes up. The point is that every single cab driver that I would get into when I was living in Prague and ask them what they thought of this new building, they all had a very strong response to the building, positive or negative. And I thought, well, that is what art and architecture is. It is eliciting a response from these people. And it's like the pyramid at the Louvre. Like, you either hate it or you love it, but isn't the idea to get you to respond to it? Right?
Right.
So I think that was my comment about art and being an artist. Is it is it art if no one sees it? Is it art if no one understands it? Is it art? I think the point is not necessarily to people either like it or not. Back to your point about, is it upsetting for people to see it again? But does it make people think in things of a certain way, or access some feelings that they haven't accessed in a while, or
Well, another part of it, like I viewed for the Normal Heart, was art in its general definition, like we just talked about, but more so also if it's an autobiographical piece or if it's a true story, honoring the people that don't get the chance to tell that story, honoring the people that were. So I would have a moment each day before stage, and I'm spiritual, so that's my venue. So I would have my little moment where I'd just speak to that person that I was portraying wherever they are in the ether, and kind of connect. Like, thank you for your work. Thank you for this opportunity to show what you did. And then, I mean, as you know, but maybe people who have not seen The Normal Heart in our particular adaptation of it, we had the opportunity for people to come up after the show, and it ran for, 4 weeks, something like that. And after every show, we would have this big black backdrop in the back of the stage where you could take chalk and you could write someone's name who either died from AIDS or someone you knew, something like that. And in the beginning of the production, it's a few names. It's someone's that you know, someone, and then by the end of the production, there's no space because it's just bleeding with chalk.
Yeah, I had come at the last weekend, and it was
so powerful.
It was full from
and that's people.
It was amazing.
People.
We can talk. Obviously, we're theater artists and we're storytellers. That's the essence of what we do, right? We're just storytellers, and we all believe in the transformative power of storytelling. And what is a good? How do I be a better storyteller? What is my goal as a storyteller?
So, two things. We're almost running out of time, but do you have any advice for actors that are just starting out, or advice on how to be more present in auditions?
And also how to market yourself in your productions, because you do such a good job of that as well.
Those are good questions. The first part of your question, what my advice I would give to people starting out, because I'm so old. Thanks a lot, guys. Thanks. The advice I would give is and I would go when I was in acting class and talking to all my acting classmates about how are you, and they would ask me, how are you constantly getting in shows? How are you constantly working? And I said, well, I audition for everything. Even if, because the idea is that, in as small of a town as this is, just because the director doesn't see you as being right for the particular role in the particular show at the particular time that director is casting, he's going to think, he or she is going to think of you for the next possible piece. And this is how you hopefully get to a place where, and I've been super lucky, I'm fully aware of that, where I don't have to audition that much anymore. People reach out to me.
You've done the work in the past. You've auditioned
my ass off. Yeah. So that's the advice I would give. And
audition for everything.
Audition for everything, and be good at your audition. Enjoy your audition. Learn. That's not audition for everything. The more important piece under that, of course, is learn to love to audition. Learn to love it. Enjoy it. It is a muscle like any other muscle. We can talk all day about auditioning. I just love it because. And again, it's like a specific skill set of learning to memorize your lines is a muscle of the acting brain. Sure. Auditioning is a muscle for the acting brain as well. What would I say if I could say something quickly about how to be better in your audition? Learn to love it, and learn and realize when you're actually in it. If you're someone like me who doesn't get leading roles and leading man types all the time, I get character bits. This is your time to be leading feature. This is your time to be in front of the director, and it's all you. All eyes are on you. So learn to take that and enjoy the power of that. Take your time. Take your time. Breathe, obviously. Breathe, and don't rush it. But take your time to roll around in the fact that this is probably maybe one of your only opportunities to be in front of this director and have the director's sole attention.
Nice.
That's why I love auditioning, because it's like a mini one-man show right here. It's all me right now.
Yeah, I always say that sometimes auditions are the only time I get to act, So
I know what you mean.
I enjoy it.
So we also do a bit here where we do either your worst moment on stage or your worst audition story. Something that just pulls shame and disgust.
Because we all have them,
It was awful. It was this two-man show, and it was about an hour and a half, and it was here in town, so I won't, name names. Sure. But so it's the scene between a psychiatrist and a patient, and I'm the psychiatrist, and it's all set in the psychiatrist's office. And I would say by closing night, my scene partner was maybe 2/3 to 3/4 memorized, possibly, maybe. So opening night, what happened? This is my horror story as an actor. Opening night, I knew he wasn't memorized. I just knew it. So we had all this elaborate blocking because the director was like, well, you can't just be sitting there in a therapist's office for an hour and a half. And I said, well, that is kind of what you do in a therapist's office. There's a lot of sitting. But anyway, all this elaborate blocking for me as being in control of the scene. And so the words, what do you want from me, Doc, occur twice in the script. Once in the middle-ish beginning and once at the very end. So my scene partner, I realized as we went into the run, and every night it would be a different experience of when he would go up. And when I go up, I mean he would just blurt out, what do you want from me, Doc? Which became code, unspoken code for I don't know what my lines are, and I don't know where we are, and you need to fix it. Right? That's what that meant. And it was one of those slow motion experiences where I'd be with him and I could see the blankness beginning at his chin. I could see it drain the color from his face, and like in slow motion, I would watch the beads of sweat pop at his hairline. Beads of sweat literally popped in front of my eyes across his hairline. So every night it would be this horror experience for me because of course I had not done my work as an actor and memorized every single one of his lines as well. One of the elaborate blocking is what that devolved to as well. All right, if I am the therapist and I'm in control of the scene, then I am going to control the scene. And I had the therapist's desk with all of his paperwork, his files spread out on my desk, which were pages of the script. So I would simply walk over to the desk and say, okay, well, the last time we were in, I think you were talking about a significant argument with your wife. Pause. Oh, Lord. And there was some particular argument on the 16th. Pause. I mean, so by now I'm feeding him the whole monologue. And, I mean, it was bad for him as well because he couldn't figure out how to pick. Anyway, that was horrible. And that was the experience where I thought, I hate this. I hate being here. I hate him. I hate myself in this. And I hate what is happening to the audience. And I thought I was going to not do it again after that experience. So that was tough.
So support your actors.
That's
Know
right.
your lines,
Learn your
kids.
lines, people. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Michael.
Oh,
we
it's been a
appreciate
pleasure.
you being on the show today.
Oh, thank you. It's been a blast.
And from what I heard last time, if you want to get Cabaret opens May
Mid-May.
pop quiz mid-May 2018
And
late May through June.
Boxofficetickets.com to get tickets just
for Cabaret.
Fuse or Cabaret.
Thank you both. It's been an absolute pleasure. I hope you'll have me back. Thank you.
And that's our show. Thank you so much for listening.
We want to give a big thanks to Michael for being on the show and to the FunHouse Lounge for letting us come down to their space and record. You can find tickets to Fuse Theater's upcoming show, Cabaret, on boxofficetickets.com.
As always, please let us know what you think about our show by commenting on our Facebook page, leaving us a positive review on iTunes, and subscribe to our newsletter.
Want to learn more about us, be interviewed on the podcast, or find out about some of our upcoming contests? Then please visit communitytheaterheroes.com.
Like us!